All right, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. Today we're taking a close look at a system that handles literally billions of transactions, yet somehow manages to sit completely in the shadows of our European payments infrastructure. We're talking about SCC. Now, looking at that acronym, standing shoulder to shoulder with other major banking acronyms, you might think you already know exactly what it is. I mean, it sounds like an official pan-European scheme, right? Well, today we are asking the ultimate question. Is SCC just another European card scheme hiding in a bowl of banking alphabet soup?
Look, I want to directly address the fintech developers, the system architects, and the banking professionals watching this explainer right now. You deal with acronyms like SCT for SEPA Credit Transfer or SDD for SEPA Direct Debit every single day. So naturally, when you see SCC, your brain just kind of categorizes it exactly the same way. It sounds like a neatly packaged European rulebook that you can just seamlessly plug into your existing payment pipelines. But before we go any further, we need to aggressively debunk that myth. So is it just another European card scheme?
Well, no. Not even close. Literally, not even close. And honestly, this is the single biggest trap in European payment architecture today. So, in a nutshell, SCAC is absolutely not a card scheme. If you approach SCAC expecting it to behave exactly like a regular SEPA scheme, your entire technical architecture is going to stumble and fail. You just cannot simply recycle your existing logic. And that brings us to exactly what we're going to uncover today.
Okay, here's our roadmap. We're going to decode the acronym confusion, explore the historical gap that caused it, and define the difference between a scheme and a clearing system. Then we'll look under the technical hood, compare SED directly to SED, and wrap up with what this all means for banks. Let's get started.
Section 1. The SCC acronym confusion. So, SCC stands for SEPA Card Clearing, a massive mechanism handling billions of German card transactions via the Bundesbank. But its name is exactly what causes all this confusion in the first place.
Section 2. The EPC framework and a historical gap. To really understand this whole identity crisis, we kind of have to look back. So picture this. Back in 2006, the EPC aimed to set uniform rules with the SEPA Cards framework. Great idea, right? But fast forward to November 2015, and the EPC essentially just threw their hands up. They looked at the landscape, realized the EMV migration for cards and ATMs was mostly done, declared their watch had ended, and simply walked away, completely abandoning the card rulebook. The following year, they handed the keys over to the European Payment Stakeholders Group, and because of this, there is actually no official EPC card scheme for banks to join today.
Now, because the EPC left this massive gap, the Bundesbank now operates SCC as a clearing service based on a Berlin Group standard rather than an EPC rulebook. The Berlin Group cleverly avoided creating a brand new scheme from scratch. Instead, they developed this incredibly ingenious framework that makes card-initiated transactions processable using existing SEPA messages, and German banks successfully migrated to this standard between 2013 and 2015.
Section 3. Scheme versus clearing. This right here is the absolute core concept of our explainer. We need to cleanly separate the brand on the plastic card from the actual back-end infrastructure.
So, to put this in a nutshell, think of a card scheme, like girocard, Visa, or MasterCard, as the vehicle. The scheme defines the product. It dictates who can issue the cards, the liability for fraud, the interchange fees, how disputes are handled, and of course, the brand the customer actually sees on the checkout terminal. On the other hand, SCE is simply the highway. SCE regulates absolutely none of those business rules. It is merely the clearing path that transports the final structured demand for payment from the merchant's bank to the cardholder's bank. Girocard is the scheme, SCE is just the highway it drives on in Germany.
And what's truly fascinating here is the sheer simplicity of SCC's role. I mean, SCC knows absolutely nothing about the physical card, the PIN entered by the customer, or the terminal itself. It only activates after the authorization has already successfully occurred at the checkout counter. Its one and only job is to transport the result of that transaction to get the money from point A to point B.
Moving to Section 4, under the technical hood. We know it uses SEPA messages, but how does that actually work in practice? Well, SCC acts as an extension of the SEPA Direct Debit format, utilizing ISO 2222 messaging standards.
Now for the developers tuning in, this is where it gets highly technical and, honestly, incredibly interesting. SCC relies on specific, customized versions of SAP Direct Debit XML formats. Rather than reinventing the wheel, it uses the PAIN and PAX message families to handle the entire transaction lifecycle.
You've got customized messages for the initial submission from the client to the bank, the actual interbank collection, and separate messages for returns, revocations, and rejections before clearing. It looks remarkably similar to direct debit, which is brilliant for European standardization, but there's a massive catch.
The catch is how it handles the specific card data, because standard SEPA messages just weren't built for retail terminals. This is solved by a critical supplementary container, specifically SUPL017. Think of it like a tightly packed backpack strapped to the standard ISO message. This backpack holds all the vital card-specific details: the terminal ID, the merchant data, and the exact authorization time. Now, during the actual interbank clearing, the clearinghouse completely ignores this backpack, but it's passed straight through to the participating banks because they desperately need that data for reconciliation and handling any customer claims.
Section 5, SCC versus standard SDD. Okay, I need to issue a strict warning here. Just because SCC shares ISO formats with SEPA Direct Debit, assuming it behaves the exact same way is a massive architectural trap.
Let's rapid fire through exactly why they're fundamentally different. First up, mandates. If you treat SCC like SDD, you're going to go looking for mandate data. Well, there is none. The physical authorization at the terminal completely replaces the need for a direct debit mandate. Second, lead times. Standard direct debits have strict submission lead times. SCC, it clears on the very same business day. Third, remittance information. SCC doesn't use standard structured remittance fields, it relies entirely on that supplementary backpack container we just talked about. And finally, our transactions. The return windows and reasons do not follow the direct debit rulebook at all. They strictly follow card logic.
Section 6. Bank Implications. So, if you're a financial system architect integrating these systems today, how do you actually apply this knowledge?
Step 1. You absolutely must implement completely isolated processing streams within your payment systems. Do not blindly recycle your standard STD pipelines, or those differences in lead times and mandates will absolutely break your system. Step 2. Establish a direct connection to the Bundesbank SEPA Clear, which in Germany is predominantly done via the EBIX protocol. And Step 3. You have to build custom validation and claims processes specifically designed to open up and read that supplementary container so you can actually match the transaction to the original card swipe.
So, summarizing all of this, the overarching strategic reality is that SAC remains a uniquely national special path. It's a highly efficient, custom-built German clearing highway that exists purely because of the absence of a unified, overarching European card scheme. It fills the gap perfectly, but make no mistake, it plays by its own unique rules.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We've seen how a historical gap created this incredibly unique piece of back-end infrastructure that processes billions of payments right under our noses. But looking forward, will Europe ever actually manage to unify its card schemes into one cohesive rulebook? Or is this clever, uniquely German SCC highway here to stay for good? Definitely something to chew on as you design your next payment architecture. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building.